Namaste. Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start our Thursday class with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhuvaswaha, Tatsavitra Vareneyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma satgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityurma amritam gamya. Om sehna bhavatu, sehna bhunaktu, saviryam karvavahi, tejasvi navadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti 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 om. Couple of weeks ago, we went through the introduction of the Kenopanishad, which we are going to start today. And I told you that this is from Samved, very, very small Upanishad, only 4 chapters. First chapter has 8 verses, second chapter 5 verses, third chapter 12 verses, and fourth chapter 9 verses. So that is the entire Upanishad. So it's called Ken Upanishad. Ken means by whom. By whom. And in the very first verse of this chapter 1, we see this Ken word over there. Ken ishitam patatihi preshitam manaha ken pranaha prathmaha prati yuktaha. Ken ishitam vacham imam vadanti chakshuhu shrotram ka udevaha yunakti. Ken, by whom? Ishitam, willed. Patati, false. Preshitam, sent or directed. Manaha, mind. Again, Ken, by whom? Pranaha, the prana, the vital air. Prathmaha, at first. Prati, does proceed to function. Yuktaha, well equipped. Again, Ken, by whom? Ishitam, commanded. Vacham, speech. Imam, this. Vadanti, they utter, say. Chakshu, eye. Shrotram, ear. Ka means who. U means indeed. Devaha, the divine powers. Yunaktihi, directs. So this is a question by this disciple. So we know the Upanishads are always in a conversation style. Conversation between the disciple and the Guru. And this is what we see over here. The disciple is saying, by whom willed and directed does the mind light upon its objects? Commanded by whom does the main prana? You remember those 5 pranas we talked about in other Upanishads? So main prana proceed to function. By whose will do men utter speech? A human being can speak. That vacham, the vak shakti. What intelligence directs the eyes and the ears? So that means towards their respective objects. This is a question put in by the student. You can see that student has lived an intelligent life in the outer world. But now he wants to know the subtlety of this life also. He knows that senses work, mind works, intelligence works, but whose command, by whose command they work? He's feeling very impatient. He wants to know. He has grown up to that level where he has discarded all the temptations from the sense world. He knows I need to reject the false and I need to inquire upon the truth. And as he inquires upon the truth, he sees that the body, which is a combination of all these limbs, and also the subtle body, the mind and the intellect, they do function, but by whose power? He sees that my other fellow human beings, they cannot answer this question, or they don't even inquire about it yet. But I have this deep inquiry within me. And that's why he is confused. So it's very clear from the way he has put his question. By whom willed or directed does the mind light upon its objects? So he is inquiring for a factor which lies beyond the mind, which is beyond the expressions of the mind or the intellect. He knows that in themselves, the sense organs and the mind, intellect, they are all made up of matter. They are inert by themselves. So that means he has done enough inquiry about that. He knows that how can an inert matter itself act? They are active. Body is active, mind is active. But what power makes them active? He wants to know. He wants to resolve this confusion. This is almost like a riddle of our life. And that's why he has approached this great guru. Because he wants to know that if there is this great illuminator, controller, who is he? What is it? And what is my relationship with that power? There has to be some power which is making us speak, making us see, making us think. What is our relationship within us? And always this power is vigilant, brilliant, and always alert. What is this power? So students' job is, or the students' duty is to have this kind of an inquiry. And the guru's duty is to give the answer. Student has to surrender. Student has to eliminate the ego by self-surrendering to the guru. That's why we are told to do the Ishwar Smaran, unbroken jap, kirtan, hearing, reflecting, meditating, so that our ego is down. Otherwise, if our ego is up, we really cannot understand what Guru is saying. Those are like preliminary exercises we need to go through. This is something we see in all the Upanishads. Importance of a guru to learn the Brahma Vidya, to really understand the Brahma Vidya, importance of a guru or a teacher. And who is a true teacher? That also we learn from the Upanishads, as well as some from Bhagavad Gita also. True teacher is who at once, who is well versed in the scriptures and also established in the truth. Okay. And this is what we see in this very first mantra. We see the setting of an ashram. We can imagine that Guru is sitting over there with an unconditional love for the student who has come to him, and at the same time, who is full of knowledge also, full of experience also. And we have talked about it earlier that whenever students come, in the Vedic time, students came to the Rishi's ashram, they always brought a bundle of wood. Bundle of wood. And that is a symbol of a student's internal urge to know. Bundle of wood. Readiness to strive. Eagerness to become a perfect student. Detachment from the world. Whatever desires are left, desires are there, but they have been dried, and symbolically giving that dry wood to the Guru that please burn these also. Total detachment from this worldly affairs. Unless the Guru is well versed in the scriptures, he will definitely find it difficult and impossible to direct the gaze of the student towards the self. We can always give whatever we have, because this spark is shining all the time. But we have to just bring our attention inward. So to such, that's what we see in this scripture, that to such a complete Guru, this disciple is approaching with a meek surrender, devotion, eagerness, ready to sacrifice anything, ready to serve, ready to purify, and ready to realize. That's why these questions are coming from his mind. So very opening scene, we have a glimpse of the qualities of a true disciple. We need to cultivate these qualities too. Upanishads are not just to read, not just to even memorize. Upanishads should ignite that spark in us also. Reverence, discipline, austerity, surrender, devotion, all of that. So that's why this opening question in this Upanishad, we can see the psychological and spiritual qualities in this disciple. So he faced his life very diligently, very intelligently, outer life, but now he has realized that there is something more to life, and he wants to know. And he knows that Guru is the only one who can answer these questions. Nobody else could. Nobody else did. And to a shishya, this kind of a shishya, Guru is nothing but God. See, just like for a devotee, we are reading Shiv Puran these days. To a Shiv Bhagat, Shivling is nothing but Lord Shiva. To a Krishna Bhagat, the form of Krishna is nothing but Krishna himself. The same way, when a Upanishad is studied through a Guru, Like this student has come to a guru. Guru is nothing but that pure consciousness for this young boy. It's not the body of the guru. It's not the name of the guru. It is the tattva of the guru, the essence of the guru. Guru is absolute bliss, eternal wisdom. And with this kind of a feeling of faith, devotion, when a student has this wisdom, just pours down. In fact, self-redemption must come ultimately from ourselves. The external prop, it could be a shivling, it could be a guru, it could be a Christian, it could be a temple, it could be a book. Those are all encouragements and the aids. So the real wisdom, it's lies within us. Guru only ignites it. So that's why every guru says, stick to the sadhana. Be good, be kind, be sincere. Cultivate these qualities. Purify your motives. Because if the motives are not pure, that ultimate purity you won't feel. Build life upon the enduring values of love and mercy, charity and purity. Those are, we are all familiar with this. And constant remembrance of Lord. Constant remembrance. Yesterday I was telling you that Kevali Pranayam, constant remembrance. So this opening mantra puts a very great question. Who directs the mind, which as it were goes out towards its object? What is that power? And goes out, the word is patati. Patati means false. Instead of mind going up towards God, it just falls to the object. Instead of looking at the God, that divinity in a statue, we just look at only what the statue is made up of. That is patati. Patati. So the word patati implies the theory of perception. It's not only the form of God or any other form also. Whether it's a tree or whether it's a mountain or whether it's any other object. The Atma riding the mind flows out through the sense organs, reaches the objects, and mind takes the form of the object. For example, when we see a picture, the mind runs out through the eyes, reaches the picture, takes the form of the picture. And when the Atma in the picture embraces the Atma spark in our mind, we come to know that it is a picture. And it is according to this theory of perception, the student is asking, directed by whom does the mind run out? Who is giving the direction? It's like if we are sitting inside our house quietly, somebody knocks at the door. Somebody is directing us to come out. Who is directing this mind to come out? What is this dynamic, vital force behind the mind, which makes it vibrant with life and activity? And our mind is not just going out once, it constantly keeps on going out. So what projects the mind out? What orders the mind to go to its objects? Average person will not ask this question. They are too busy just between the duality of the joy and the sorrow. going in and out. But a person who has spent many years of intelligent, analytical thinking will definitely ask this question. This is called a subtlety of the mind, going towards the sukshamta. So here this student, very clearly we can see that he has come to a conclusion that physical eyes cannot see by their own. The physical ears cannot hear by themselves. There must be a very subtle power behind the eye instrument, which is vitalizing it. And the power is so subtle that our gross intellect, see, intellect can be gross, intellect can be subtle. Even though intellect is part of the matter, but it can have a different degrees. So the gross intellect cannot reach anywhere near it. We need a very pure mind and intellect as instrument if we want to dig deep into the truth behind the sense organs. That's why when we meditate also, what do? We detach from this body, we detach from the senses, we detach from the mind, and we detach from the intellect also. We surrender completely to this ultimate power so that we can connect with that power. So without understanding the total knowledge, we cannot discover our real nature. Otherwise, knowing that we are the Atma, those are just the words alone. We have built up our life with the false values. We have to drop down all the false values. And the very bottom of the false value is selfishness. Get rid of the selfishness, get rid of the egoism, if we want to really know the reality. Now let's see how the Guru is answering this question, because this was just a question put in by a very sincere student. Shrotrasya shrotam manasah mana yad vachaha vacham sa upranasya pranaha chakshusha chakshu ati muchya dhiraha prete asmat lokat amrita bhavanti. Shrotasya, of the ear, Shrotram, the ear, Manasa, of the mind, Manaha, the mind, Yad Vachaha, of the speech, Ha Vacham, this is the speech. Sa means he, U means very, like the very same. Pranasya, of the life, Pranaha, the life. Chakshusha, of the eye, Chakshu, the very eye. Ati muche, having transcended or having abandoned. Dhiraha, the wise. Prete, having gone away. Asmat lokat, from the world of senses. Amritaha, immortal. Bhavanti, become. So Guru is saying that it is the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind, the tongue of the tongue, so that's the speech of the speech, and also the life of the life, and the eye of the eye. Having abandoned the sense of self or I-ness in these, that means I-ness in these means I am this physical body, or I am this mind. I am so intelligent. So having abandoned the sense of self or I-ness in these and rising above sense life, the wise becomes immortal. Amrita. So question was very direct. Who is the director That was a question. The Guru is answering with another riddle over here. So Guru's answer is not so direct. So he is answering that he is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, etc. Because you really cannot define God. That's why this common saying, to define God is to defile God. So that's why answer has to be like this. This is called a suggestive language of the Upanishads. Brahman or the Atma cannot be demonstrated positively in a concrete manner. Brahman is the causative force of the things we know. One has to realize the Brahman. A person has to realize himself with the aid of these suggestions. So that's why suggestions are given in the Upanishads. Pointers are given in the Upanishads. So that's why I said, to such a direct question, the Guru's answer is not so direct. He's saying that there is an intelligence of the intellect and the eye of the eye, ear of the ear. So he's indicating beyond doubt that there is that external, there is some power behind the external organs, the indriyas, the intellect. Intellect cannot function by themselves and are motivated by a power from within. Ear of the ear, eye of the eye, mind of the mind. So this Guru is trying to answer the question, but at the same time, taking his attention towards a very subtle world beyond the grosser world. So it's almost like he's making him think subtler than what he was thinking. Even though he was thinking subtle, he wanted to know what is that power. So he's saying there is something which is the eye of the eye, ear of the ear. And there is a mind is the gross world, indriyas are gross also, but there is something which is subtler and deeper within. Unless a disciple learns to renounce his conception of the world outside, the senses of the perception of the gross senses, indriyas, and the mind, he is not ready to walk in. We know how to walk outside, but the Guru teaches us how to walk within. There is an inner world, but to learn how to stay in there and walk in there. And Guru says, I am with you. I will hold your hand. I will not leave you alone into this Atman Loka. But walking you must do, but I will hold your hand. Because the world of truth, this Atman Loka, is not known to us. It's a strange region. It's almost like a distant land, even though it's within us, but we think it's so far away. So that's why a majority of us do not have either the inclination or even thirst for it. Because the very first step is vairagya. If we don't have that vairagya from the external, we really don't have a thirst for the internal. If we are still running in the outer world, we get bored with a certain toys, but then we find another toys. We get bored with a certain place, we run to another place. But actually, The real us is looking for that peace internally, but we are not paying much attention to it. But this young boy, he did, and he went to his guru. He wanted to proceed on this path. He wanted to walk on this road to perfection. And Guru knows that this road is long. This is arduous. It's a path of the knowledge. Many people talk about it, but very few walk on it. Upanishads say that themselves. But they also say the way to salvation is definitely difficult. It's an upward path, but still everybody has to walk on it sooner or later. So this guru is answering the question in a very tactful way. Tactful. He wants to make sure that student is prepared. Student is ready. Student is initiated into this strange land, which is sealed away from him. So he's alerting the student with this very first mantra. He's preparing him for this great adventure. This is a travel within. So Master has answered the question, which is seems like a no answer. To a gross mind, it seems like no answer. But if we look within this answer, that's where the key to the answer lies. It's almost like it's opening up the gateway to the real answer. Mind's eye of the student. That's what he's opening up by answering like this. All of us are endowed with this divine light. We may not be aware of it, but the divine light is in all of us. We just ignore it because our temptations are into the outer world. Nobody can awaken this for us. We have to awaken it ourselves. Nobody can walk for us. We have to walk ourselves. And that's why the experience we get during our meditations or the samadhi, it remains as a gift for us for the rest of our life. Any glimpse of this takes us on this path deeper and deeper. That's how we strengthen our tapasya also, self-effort also, our swadhyay also. This is what happens, a glimpse. And God does help us to show us that glimpse. So one thing we have to understand from this verse over here, because when he says it's the eye of the eye, that means you have to let go of the grosser eye in order to understand the subtle eye. You have to let go of the grosser mind to understand what is that power behind the mind. So that's why he's saying eye of the eye, ear of the ear. We want to understand only with the help of the eyes. Often people say, if I don't see God with these eyes, I don't believe God. If I cannot understand with this mind of mine or intellect of mine, there must not be a God. So this Guru is clearly saying that we must leave the grosser outer world in order to get in touch with this consciousness or the divinity or the inner light. Unless we learn to surrender ourselves completely, we cannot reach the new realms. We know that even in this world, if we want to climb up the stairs, we got to let go of the lower one step and then climb to the next one. Then let go of that one and climb to the next one. The same thing applies over here. We got to let go of the grosser in order to reach the subtler. We have been living in this world of false values, false mind, which has created a lot of sorrows and pains for us and for others also we have created. And we have created a lot of vasanas because of that. We attach ourselves to this phenomenal world unnecessarily. And we despair by saying that this is what life is. No, you got to understand life is a lot more than that. Life is bliss. Life is joy. Life is to know ourselves. Life is to know that power which is behind all this. We should have that quest to know this, that thirst to know this. Then how do we come to know this world beyond? Let us consider our sources for our knowledge. What our sources? Because even when we are walking on the path of spirituality, we don't leave this world. We are living in this world. But we got to remember what our sources are and use those sources. See, like if to get something in the outer world, we use the external sources. For this spiritual world, we need to remember what our sources are. Rely on those sources. Hold on to the sources. First of all, we reach to this reality or the Tattva Gyan or the divinity by self-effort. Self-effort is needed. That means striving consistently with our faculties. Striving. To keep on striving. Because when something is unknown to us, how do we know it? See, for example, if somebody wants to dig some water from the earth, they know there's a water. How do they dig the water? They use the proper equipment. They keep on digging, self-effort. Also, they first find out through some resources. Where is the water? Where is the water level closer to the land? They use the resources. The same way, what are our resources for this? Where is God? What is that power? What is that eye behind the eye? What is the ear behind the ear? What is our resource? The Upanishads, the Shrutis, the Mahavakyas, those are our resources. The brightness of the Guru or the Guru's mind of the Upanishads, which are very unknown to us. We got to dig deeper into the words of the Gurus. Have to have a faith in it. See, just like we have a faith when we turn the TV on and we see the news about it, somewhere across the globe. These days, if you want to learn about what's happening in Ukraine, we read in the newspaper or we look at the TV and we have faith in those resources and we say, this is what's happening. We don't have to go there. We cannot go there, but we just believe what is told. The same way, for a spiritual seeker, the first resource is the scriptures and the Guru. We got to have trust, have a full faith in them. On the TV, We have not met those people, but we trust the words of those newscasters. Very easily we do. But the words of the Guru, we don't. Our mind starts to doubt about that. We even doubt whether Lord Krishna spoke to Arjuna with all that Karam Yoga and Gyan Yoga and Bhakti Yoga or not. How could he do it in the war? The armies are standing there and he's talking about Brahma Gyan. We doubt that. Sanshya, that is the biggest obstacle on this path. The Vedic words, the Upanishadic words, the Guru's words, they are called the Agam. Agam. The testimony which doesn't have any flaw. We have to have a full faith in it. Because these gurus, these scriptures, repeatedly they emphasize that it is not external power, it's internal power. It's not grosser, it is subtler. In a unanimous voice, these gurus, they cry out, Thou art God. Aham Brahmasmi. These gurus say that God is everywhere. There's no place where God is not. But our lower intellect doesn't want to believe it. This truth is declared by the mystics of all religions. Unless we renounce our doubts, unless we let go of the present mode of living where we are running after the grosser, we won't realize it. In order to realize it, make it your experience, you have to sit back. Do what Guru says. These masters, there's not just one. God has provided us masters after masters. He come himself also to show us the path. So why didn't the Guru answer the question directly? There's a reason for it. There's a reason. And we'll see that in the next few verses, why the answer is in a riddle form. In the following verse, we'll see that how he's explaining the theme, which cannot be expressed better in any other language than in a language of the riddle. This is what we'll see in the next verse next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.